right, thank you. Appreciate you joining the program. Guys, I'm going to go straight to my guest. We've got a lot to talk about in this hour, particularly on the issue of political rhetoric from the left that is turning to violence, and I fear that they are going to become more violent. I couldn't think of a better guest to bring on than Dr. Curry Myers. He's America's leading criminologist. All right. He's on the faculty with the criminology department at Benedictine College, a visiting senior fellow with the Texas Public Policy Foundation. He was a sheriff, 35 years of professional experience as a state trooper, special agent, sheriff, criminologist, professor, consultant. All right. You're going to get me tired, Doc. But anyway, his resume is extensive when it comes to the issue of crime. This gentleman knows of what he speaks. Welcome to the show, Doc. Really appreciate you joining me.
Oh, always a pleasure to be on. Thanks so much.
Okay, so first off, let me start here because this news just broke earlier, not too long ago. 10 charged in connection with the shooting at an ICE facility inside of Texas that wounded an officer. These people are facing, and rightfully so, Doc, life in prison. Give us your take on that, if you would.
Well, it's once again, this has all been fomented from the advent of feral man. As you know, I've been on the show before, right, about my book, The Advent of Feral Man, which we've had this wilding of humans that has occurred over the last 10 to 15 years in particular. And it fomented by politics. So we are seeing politicians actually encourage people to go out, and then you have things like the dark psychological traits and the social contagions that are going on that fosters this kind of okophobia, if you will, this hatred for our country and hatred for its own people. And as a result, and then we have embedded soldiers from different countries that have come into this country that is still here that plays a role in that. And as a result, we get these kinds of activities where there are actually people who are planning and conducting the attacks on not only federal law enforcement, but state and local law enforcement at the same time. And it's very concerning. I'm concerned for we've been lucky so far that we haven't had any police officers killed in the line of duty with respect to this. We've had police officers killed in the line of duty, of course, this year. But I'm very concerned about what could happen if we continue these kinds of behaviors without having focused deterrence. Now, thank goodness we do have focused deterrence on these. They're being arrested, but we have to spend the time to follow the money. We have to spend time to look deeply from an investigatory point of view into these cases so we understand everybody that's involved, including co-conspirators, to be able to get them arrested, to be able to get them charged federally, and be able to get them off the streets as soon as possible.
Yeah, I hope to God that these people spend tons of time in prison. I hope they're made an example of, because this is absolutely insane, and I fear that it's only going to get worse. Momentarily, I want to talk to you about a Substack that you had written on Zoran Mamdani, this mayoral, now the Democratic nominee for New York City, and what that's going to mean if he is elected for criminality inside of New York City. And actually, it's so funny. Some of the things that you mentioned are things that I mentioned and talked about before. I think if this guy is elected, New York City, maybe they'll finally get the rude awakening. I was hoping it wouldn't go that far, but maybe they'll get that. But before we get there's a couple more things that I want to mention to you, Doc, and I want to get your take. I want to get your take on them. And just as I said that, I deleted the page where I was just on. So that's always beautiful. But here's a note that I have. This from townhall.com. There needs to be blood. What Democrat voters are demanding from their leaders. And Doc, I contend that as Trump and Republicans become more successful, because the left has no political ideas that are good for American citizens, and because the left, in my opinion, have co-opted the party, I think they're going to get crazier. I think they're going to get more violent. Right now, let me just read you the synopsis and get your take. Democratic voters are very dissatisfied with their party at the moment. The heart of the matter is the perception that Democratic politicians are not radical enough when it comes to fighting President Trump's agenda. This was based on an Axios report where it seems constituents believe more political theater is the most effective tactic Democrats should be using. The news outlet interviewed several Democratic lawmakers who explained that their constituents are urging them to become more antagonistic in their opposition to the president. To put it simply, they want their representatives to become more Trumpy. And what they mean by Trumpy, they want their elected officials to become so antagonistic that perhaps it results to violence. The problem is people on the right, I don't think are violent, Doc. Typically speaking, conservatives, Christians, some Jews now, the numbers seem to be growing, Catholics, so on, et cetera. We don't tend to be violent. But these left-wing politicians have put themselves in a trap. Give us your take on that. Again, constituents, and I'm sure it's a very vocal few, but nonetheless, they seem to have a lot of sway with the Democrat Party right now. Just 3 minutes left in this block, but give us your take on that. There needs to be blood.
Well, Carl, what in the heck has happened to the Blue Dog Democrats, the JFK Democrats that were around in the 50s, 60s, and 70s? Nobody's speaking up against this. Now, there's plenty. Now, there are many people who have now become Republican. There's no question about that because President Trump has been able to attract people from all over. But where are the people at that stand for the principles of the true Democratic Party back in the day when we were younger, where there were issues, we disagreed on many issues, but it didn't get so polarized and it didn't get to the point where, again, violence was fomented by people. So we're in this new dawn of politicalization. I'm absolutely believe this is one of the reasons is because of the lack of formation that we have in our families. We're not able to guide children correctly. They're sitting there in their basements. They get overwhelmed with social media. It's all these social contagions that have occurred in the United States and the worldwide, and it just takes little hotspots and it takes everything to the new level. We live in a new world of hot now. All of our information is hot now, and we will respond without thinking about the consequences of what we actually say. And there was a time when we were taught by our moms and dads to say, think before you act and think before you say something, or you're going to do something that you're going to regret. But I want to know, where are the people that are in the Democratic Party that's going to start standing up against this kind of violence, going to start standing up and say, this isn't what the party is, and we're going to start kicking people out as a result of how they're behaving. And that is the biggest issue that I'm seeing today, because this has now come to the point where they're literally considering somebody who is a true communist for New York City mayor. And I know we're going to get to that piece, but that's what happens when you have craziness. Now, the House of Representatives by design is supposed to be a little crazy, right? The founding fathers said, we're going to get people from all over, and every 100,000 folks or so, and they're going to get elected. So there's going to be some crazy people in it. But we have a lot of people who need mental health treatment and have illnesses, and they are serving in important positions.
All right. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I mean, a lot of people that are frankly incompetent and should not be in the House of Representatives, but they are. Also, I mean, even Ketanji Brown Jackson on the Supreme Court, even the liberals are moving away from her a little bit. So anyway, again, I'm joined by my guest, Dr. Curry Myers, America's criminologist, favorite criminologist, or should be. Dr. Curry Myers, tell people where they can go to find your work quickly here.
You can see me on Substack, drcurrymyers.substack.com. Curry is C-U-R-R-I-E, Myers, M-Y-E-R-S. I publish a lot of works, policy papers, and podcasts.
Okay, so, man, I was just reading up during the break, Doc, on what these guys did to draw out ICE agents that were unarmed, really attempting to try and kill them. I mean, These people have gone absolutely insane and violent. You get the rhetoric of a Mamdani and AOC and all these people that hate America, that hate ICE, that hates, federal law enforcement, hates law enforcement, period. And then you get wackos like this that will go out and do the dirty work. Luckily, apparently, it was an AR style rifle that was found on the scene, 20 or 30 rounds that was shot at unarmed correction officers. But luckily, the gun jammed. And apparently they weren't a good shot, thank God. But apparently they threw out fireworks and all this kind of stuff to lure the officers out, and then someone in the woods started shooting at them. This is what I fear. And then you get this Mamdani guy that you wrote about, Doc. This guy is a straight up communist. Now we know he's a liar. He's trying to back away from some of the things that he said before. Even lied on his college admission, claiming that he was African American. This guy is a straight up commie. More with Dr. Curry Myers on the other side. Hey guys, Carl Jackson here. As you know, our friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life. He didn't stop by simply creating the best pillow. Mike created the best bed sheets ever. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. Mike is offering the best deal on his Giza Dreams bed sheets. $100 in free digital gifts. All you have to do is call 1-800-858-0263. Use the promo code Carl. That number again, 1-800-858-0263. Promo code Carl. This guy is a straight up commie. These people don't realize what they're in for in New York City, Doc. I'd like for you to inform them, please.
Well, we seem to be run amok with political grifters in our society now, and this one is for sure. He is a member of the Democratic Socialists of America, the DSA. He's an actual member, and he's boasts about it. And they are, of course, anti-capitalist. They're anti-police. They're pro what's called BDS, which is boycott, divestment, and sanctions. And he says that, and he's openly been anti-ICE rhetoric. He actually tried to get in the face of Tom Homan when he was in New York City. He's called for the complete dismantling of the agency. He's openly repeated the phrase, globalize the Intifada. And this guy gets elected on the Democratic side as the mayor. If he has control of the New York City Police Department, and he would, because they operate, New York has a strong mayor format system, where the mayor holds broad authority over police, including full control of New York City Police Department, which is one of the top law enforcement agencies in the world at the city level. They know how to fight a lot of things. They have just come off some of their worst times with the previous mayor, and they're now starting to get better at what they do. They're kind of going back to that ComStat area where they take data and look at it and use resources. Their technology has been great. They've been able to start reducing crime from what it used to be. It's not down where it was under the ComStat era, but it is getting better. And New York City had once had over 40,000 police officers, Carl, and now they're been decimated. There's less than 30,000 police officers. That's 10,000 less police officers in that department. And you just imagine what this guy's going to do to decimate the number of officers. He basically is not going to hire anybody. And you're going to have droves of New York City police officers leave early, take early retirements. And he has the ability to appoint a police commissioner. That police commissioner has effect on deputy commissioners. And that has an effect even on the chief of the department and assistant chiefs of different areas. So it's a major, at this point, the only thing that could save New York City, if he does get elected mayor, which I hope he doesn't, but if he does get elected mayor, is perhaps trying to take the ability to him to have full authority and control away and going to some sort of police board like has been done in some states. There's been some states that have been so corrupt they've had to form police boards that have been funded and started by the state actually to be able to have oversight. And I don't know what that's going to come to, but we can only hope that he doesn't get elected. But if he does, New York City is going to have complete chaos. And that, I'm just talking criminal justice issues, let alone the economic plight that's going to occur. And the thing is, economics and criminology are very closely aligned. What happens economically has an impact on crime, as you know. And if you think Detroit is decimated, just wait till this guy gets in there and controls New York City. You're going to see New York City like Detroit within 4 or 5 years, because people are going to leave, businesses are going to leave, taxes are going to go up. Then nobody's going to be able to pay the taxes, because the only people left are people too poor to be able to be assessed taxes. And what pays for government services? Revenue from taxes. And so you're not going to be able to have the kind of police officers you have. And New York City, Carl, has one of the best transnational crime fighting tools in the world. They have New York City police officers around the world are stationed, and they'll be able to watch transnational crime, investigate transnational crime from an intelligence point of view, along with terrorism, and report back in advance to make sure it doesn't hurt New York City. And a guy like this who wants to globalize the Intifada, as he says, he could actually take that away from New York City and not have that ability to have current and operational intel to be able to keep New York City safe.
Doc, we only have 2 minutes left in this block. I was going to end it here, but I'm going to ask you to stay with me one more segment if you can, because I spoke about this, but Ayan, I forget how to pronounce her name, Ayan Hirsi Ali, had a great column at the Free Press the other week. And what we're witnessing with this guy is something that I don't think we've seen before, and that is the convergence of both Islamism and Marxism, and which I almost wonder, because sadly, Americans, so many leftists in New York City, for example, have just drunk the Kool-Aid hook, line, and sinker when it comes to these Marxist policies. I wonder if he'll use that in order to usher in Islamism in New York City, like frankly you're seeing in places like Europe where they've taken over. Now we only have 1 minute, so maybe you can just touch on that real quickly here, and we'll talk about it deeply, get into it a little deeper after the break.
I think you're right. I think it's a ruse. If you remember the immortal words of General George Patton, an enemy of my enemy is my friend. And what's the best way to gain support is to embrace socialism, progressivism, but the end result is to do what? Globalize the Intifada.
Man. Doc, I got to tell you, I almost, once you said I was right, I almost felt like the show could have ended there. But I still get I still get more questions for you, because this is what concerns me. And I really don't think people get it. And I've even heard conservatives say, we don't need to be worried about New York City. I'm like, no, I think you're wrong on this one. More with Dr. Curry Myers on the other side. Carl Jackson in for the great Eldersky. Supreme Court of the United States has lifted the lower court order blocking federal employee layoffs. These people, honestly, if you don't think that you have activist judges out there, I don't know what else to say. The judge, objected to what was in the big, beautiful bill they got passed legislatively. This is insane. The only one that dissented was Ketanji Brown Jackson, who should not be in the Supreme Court. Back to my guest, Dr. Curry Myers. All right, Doc, going back to this Mamdani, Zohran Mamdani, now the Democratic nominee for the mayoralship of New York City. And I know some conservatives are not really concerned about this. How is it going to affect me? But I feel like this is spreading like cancer. And this Marxism, communism inside of the United States. And I believe what the left is doing is looking at Mamdani. They're going to see how this works out, and they're going to use this template, and they're going to play it across the entire United States of America. I mean, they already are. You got Karen Bass as a communist in Los Angeles, admittedly so. She doesn't say it now, but she said it in the past. This guy Mamdani, only 4 minutes in this block. He's what's known as a Shia. He's part of the Shia Muslim community. He's a 12er. If you would explain what that means, Doc, I'd appreciate it.
Well, it's the most popular form of Islam in the United States, in the world. So there's many people, and this doesn't, this really isn't about that as much as there are some very good Muslims that live in the United States, work hard,
Sure.
want to follow the rules, those kinds of things. So it's very important to differentiate between the two. This is a person who is radical. And I go back to right before we left, I am convinced that we have people embedded into this country, not just terrorist cells and people from, and don't forget, we have special interest aliens, Carl, that number probably more than 100,000 individuals. And that special interest aliens are those from designated terrorist countries that were able to get into the United States and embed. We may not know where some of them are at. We have more than 30,000 Chinese that are probably embedded in the United States. And all you have to do is, Carl, just look at the college campuses and the riots. They're not protests, the riots that have occurred, and look at the people who are helping foment those riots. There are a number of people who are coming from other countries that
Right.
are involved in establishing that. There has even been some Chinese students that have been involved that have been arrested as a result. So I go back to the theory again that an enemy of my enemy is my friend. And if I'm going to embed into the United States, it makes perfect sense from an intelligence gathering point of view that you are going to watch, you're going to listen, and then you're going to try to take charge and take control of people who are naturally themselves suffering from okaphobia and other reasons. I mentioned okaphobia as the hatred for your own country, the hatred for your own culture. And we seem to be amassed by that, especially young women today, young wealthy women on college campuses. And then you throw in these people that are embeds that come into this country that know exactly what they want to do, Carl, and that is, I'm going to take whatever they're saying and I'm going to multiply that, but my hidden agenda.
All right, we have to leave it there. Dr. Curry Myers.substack.com. Appreciate you, Doc.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Stay safe.